Star Wars Battlefront is somewhat of a mixed bag. At times, it manages to capture everything I imagined about what an ideal Star Wars game should be, but the very next moment, I can't help but wonder if the game knows what it's doing with itself. One of the first things you'll notice about Star Wars Battlefront is its striking graphics and post-processing effects. I'm actually quite surprised at the level of fidelity that DICE has achieved with Star Wars Battlefront. The detailed post-processing effects and the implementation of a physical-based deferred render makes Star Wars Battlefront one of the most beautiful games of 2015. DICE's attention to intricate details is praiseworthy, and it seems that the developer left no stone unturned in ensuring Battlefront remains true to the franchise's art style and aesthetics. I will cover the game's several graphical benchmarks in a follow-up head-to-head analysis across all platforms, but regardless of whatever system you'll play Star Wars Battlefront on, you can't help but observe a significant improvement in visual quality compared to Battlefield Hardline and Battlefield 4. Sound design for the most part is fantastic, with guns along with walkers sounding as authentic as they can compared to the movies. However, some of the developer's original score just sounds wrong at several places. Even famous movie one-liners are downright awful at times. Despite the startling production values, the gameplay in Star Wars Battlefront is one of the best that I had for this year. Unfortunately, all of this lasts for only a couple of hours. My first concern with Star Wars Battlefront is that the guns don't feel right. At times, I felt no substance or heft behind my shots, making shooting in a shooting game a rather light affair. The next big problem with the game is that the game modes like Heroes vs Villains just feels like tacked on, serving as filler of sorts. My assumption is that this mode was merely added to serve as a sort of fan service. I mean, who does not want to play as their favorite and famous Star Wars character? The problem with this mode is that each character has a limited number of abilities, and you won't feel to play this mode more than a couple of times. My third big complaint with Battlefront is that the low map count will eventually result in repetition. The game ships with 12 maps spread across 4 planets, but the balance seems off. For example, the superb Supremacy and Walker Assault modes have 4 maps, whereas Drop Zone has 6 in it. The lack of maps was already getting a lot of negative feedback from fans, and ultimately, it hurts the gameplay variety found in Star Wars Battlefront. However, not all is dark and gloomy, as the Supremacy, Drop Zones, and the Walker Assault are clearly the standout modes in the game. Supremacy is a 20 vs 20 multiplayer mode in which players would need to take hold of the opposing team's command posts in a limited amount of time, as each team begins with 2 command centers under their belt, with the 5th one up for grabs. Consider the Supremacy mode a throwback to the Momentum mode found in Call of Duty mixed up with the Conquest mode from the Battlefield series. In Walker Assault mode, you're given 2 options. Play as the Alliance to stop the Imperial from reaching your base, or take the role of an Imperial and make sure you escort the Walker to the Rebel base while fighting the Rebels. Both of the mentioned modes are extremely satisfying and perhaps offer the best Star Wars experience in a video game. Drop Zones require the players to take quick action in what is essentially a King of the Hill type 8v8 mode, in which players need to capture pods and take hold of the pods falling from orbit. Once you take control of pods, you'll be awarded with bonus points, and the fun thing about this mode is that the number of pods will increase if you fail or manage to capture the pods. There are also several other modes in the game, including Fighter Squadron, which is essentially a spectacular dogfights mode, along with destroying the enemy's transports. The Blast mode is essentially Team Deathmatch, and it's so simple in its mechanics that we wonder why it was included in the first place. The Droid Run, which is essentially a domination mode, is fun at first, but it just pales out as you play more and more. Surprisingly, the solo missions are quite fun, especially the survival mode where the player needs to fight against 15 different waves of Imperials, with each wave becoming increasingly difficult. After each wave ends, drop pods and supply drops can be retrieved. I believe that DICE showed off too much in the game's beta, resulting into missions which you may have already played, such as the epic Walker Assault mode. The problem with almost every mode, barring a few, is that the breathtaking experience will only last for a few hours before you start wondering whether you're doing the same thing over and over again. The game uses a level up and unlock system, which means that you need to rank up, which will result into credits, which can then be used to buy special abilities, items, and cards. As I mentioned earlier, most new weapons you unlock are hardly satisfying. At the end of the day, Battlefront's best moments lie in Supremacy, Drop Zones, and in the Walker Assault modes, where I think the game delivers a true Star Wars experience. Several things that were only possible in movies, such as taking down a walker or seeing an X-Wing crash with an impressive explosion and destruction effects, are truly a sight to behold in these modes. At this point, it will be interesting to see how long Battlefront will be able to hook players with its uneven multiplayer experience. If only this game had a proper single-player experience, the end product could have possibly been a worthwhile investment for every fan out there. And if you like what we're doing, go ahead and click that subscribe button. See you soon.